Hey everybody, welcome to Pale in Comparison, a proud member of the Doof Network. In this podcast, my sister uses her knowledge of the Otherverse to take a look at Pact, Wildbow's most reflective work, and I try to not give away any spoilers. I'm Jenny, and Malia convinced me to read Worm.
I'm Malia, and Jenny convinced me to read everything else. This episode, we are covering Mala Fide, chapters 10.3 and 10.4. Before we get into that, however, I'd like to issue a spoiler warning. This podcast is filled with pale spoilers. If you don't know what Charles's favorite beer is and don't want us to tell you, stop now, read Pale, and come back to this podcast. As for Pact, there'll be full spoilers to the chapters we are covering.
Yeah, that might be the most hardcore spoiler warning that we've dropped so far.
I try to draw various characters, and I was like, "What happened this week?" And I was like, "Oh, Verona went to Charles' domain, and yeah."
No, I think it's pretty funny. It's pretty good. All right. As a reminder, guys, you've got until Friday, July 22nd to send in your submissions for the fan art contest. And it is the theme of redemption. So please try to get those in soon.
Yeah. You have a little less than 2 weeks, so
Okay, this is like a long fucking summary, so I'm going to start reading. But it's shorter than reading the chapters, I guess. So there you go. Mags fills Blake in about what happened with her name and proceeds to freak out about Molly. She goes to get salt to bind Molly. Aunt Irene and Callan show up at her grave, and Molly ends up following them. Blake gives chase and gets into conflict with one of Johannes's guests, and by that I mean 3 of a trio of guests. He negotiates with Faisal, and Blake and Mags then go to Hillsglade House, where Rose is in conflict with Aunt Irene and Callan because they're very annoying people. Blake and Mags tell Rose about the Molly situation, and she reluctantly lets them handle it. Blake accidentally chases Molly off, and they go back to her grave to try to find her. And there, Mags gets into an uncomfortable interaction, to say the least, with Aunt Irene and Callan. Molly goes up to Mags after they leave and basically says that she wants revenge for her death and murder and all that stuff. They end up tracking Molly to a cafe where most of Blake's family is plotting about shit. Mags storms in and distracts the family while setting off basically a salt bomb to chase Molly out. They track her down again behind Hillsglade House, and Mags asks Molly to be her familiar, and Malia's brain exploded.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of these chapters, Malia?
This is another ding dong. I was wrong. But these chapters were awesome. It was just like excitement and moving. The first time I read them, I was very concerned and upset and was just like, oh fuck. But then the second time it was just like, ha ha ha, this is it was a lot more fun knowing that it wasn't going to end entirely catastrophically, at least not yet.
At least not yet.
But yeah, I was also thinking about Mags, and she's got to have the most toned calves, because it seems like she doesn't have cool city magic or whatever. She has to fucking run every time anyone calls her. And it's just these chapters alone, she runs across the city 4 times. And I mean, it's not that big, whatever. But I'm not. That's not my life.
That's still kind of a lot, and through snowy ground and stuff,
right?
Too.
And with all the snow shit on, running
hills.
Oh god, if there was ice, it sucks so bad.
That'd fucking suck.
Yeah. So props from Eggs and her life.
All right. Good to know that's the main thing you got out of these chapters.
It was fun. I don't
Mags
know.
has super built calves. There you go.
Yeah, or she will soon.
All right. Yeah, I mean, what else do you need to know, right?
We're going to talk about it.
Any other thoughts? Or I guess we can get into it, and then you can go over your thoughts.
There's a lot of thoughts.
All right. That's fair. Okay. Our first part, Mags goes and fills in Blake about what happened with her name and proceeds to freak the fuck out about Molly who's starting to talk and act, I don't know, like a person. Blake suggests that she get some salt for binding, so Mags goes off to get some salt. And then Aunt Irene and Callan show up at Molly's grave, and Molly goes ahead and follows them. And Blake is like, oh shit, Mags, hurry up and get back here.
Yeah, it's another thing where, like, I would always forget that Rose wasn't physically present, and sorry, it's easier to remember with Blake because we're with him all the time, but when we get into a scene, kind of, I will kind of forget. Like, I'm imagining, like, when I think about someone watching Mags or whatever from far away, like, having to remember, oh, they don't see Blake, he's in a mirror, like, it takes a minute.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where to talk about this, but I put at the beginning, like, of my notes that, like, I forgot about wraiths, and I don't know, I'd be a really bad practitioner because I just didn't expect this at all. And it seems like, I mean, they did fuck up or whatever, so it's not like I'm the only, but it's just, you can't feed a ghost, I guess, especially like
you can't feed ghosts your blood. That shit happening.
Especially like a horribly murdered ghost.
Horribly murdered ghosts, and you're feeding blood and also like a healthy dose of your guilt and shit, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot about them. I also was so like sold on the whole Molly's not real thing that it didn't occur to me to think about the fact that if Molly like was real, then she was probably also a bitch, like Paige. Like,
it makes sense. I mean, they're all raised to be like cutthroat assholes.
Oh, horrible. Like the fact that I like completely thought that Paige was like possessed or a different person or whatever when Blake talks to her in Toronto, because like sometimes I kind of kick myself for that because it's like it was such a clue and there was so many like steps away from realizing what was going on. But yeah, it didn't occur to me that Molly would be like, although Molly seems a lot better than Paige was, and she seems to have a lot of the core Molly-isms that we remember, but she's also just a lot more fucked up.
I mean, I feel like any kind of wraith is probably going to be a lot more fucked up.
Sure. Yeah. But this section, okay, yeah, so I don't know, I just feel like bad for Mags. She's, you know, trying to do something nice, and it did kind of become self-serving in that she needs to shore herself up with patterns and stuff, but she also did have this connection with this Echo, does have this connection, and so it just sucks that this thing that she was doing in part to help support herself directly conflicts with the other thing that she's doing to help support herself. Like being an ambassador, especially for like these assholes, like, oh my god. Like, and it just comes down to, one, they don't know who Blake is, and two, like, if they kind of know or remember who Blake is, like, they don't, even when they were interacting with him and could see he was like kind of maybe a decent person, they're just like so against the whole family that they could never budge an inch. And so the idea that like Maggie's just like taking her friend to see like his cousin who died and like be able to like grieve or whatever, like no one in this fucking town would at all get that, and like that sucks that she can't. It's like she can't have friends. And it's interesting how she gets from freaking out at the beginning of this chapter to being like fuck the consequences at the end of next chapter, and it's a lot. Yeah. But yeah, one of my favorite parts of this section was when Max is freaking out and kind of ranting about how it's bad that Molly's like kind of sentient, and the goblins who she's like commanded to not talk are like pointing. And she's like totally ignoring them. I just imagine this goblin like pointing, like it's so cute and great. Like he's trying his best, or she. And then Blake's like, Goblin's trying to tell you something, and then it's just like Molly, and just like, she's so fucking creepy, and it's so good. All the things she says are really creepy, and she's just sort of there, and it's like, you know, they didn't know she could talk, and then they didn't know that she could leave the circle, and then they didn't know, like, it's just really fun, and really upsetting the first time, because what the fuck's gonna happen? But yeah, Blake is just like so good, because he's just like, you know, hey Molly, like, what's up? Like, tell me about yourself. Like, tell me about your problems. And like, these people all really needed Blake in their lives to have any hope of not sucking real bad. when he's like, you should have called me, like heartbroken, it's funny how many things at the beginning of the story I sort of remember saying, like being upset that Molly didn't call Blake, that y'all must have just been like, ha 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 ha. I don't know if Blake was real, if she would have called him, because she pushes her own family away to try to like save them. Like maybe Blake being on the list would have led to her being more willing to call him, because if she dies or whatever, like he would get roped in anyway. But it's, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it's just he's so nice and great, and like Rose would never talk to an Echo like it was a person ever. And like I feel like even when she was a vestige, she just didn't see others as people really. And now she really fucking doesn't. And it's just like, yeah, such a contrast for like automatically to just be like, hey Molly, like, are you okay? Like, yeah, like trying to communicate. I don't know. I love him.
Yeah, he's pretty great.
Yeah.
I know. It's kind of a bummer that like all that nice stuff went to Blake, I guess.
Well, how was Blake made? All the questions. Did they have to take anything else to make Blake? Because this is such a different, his compassion and his, yeah, I mean, that's, I think, really it. His compassion totally separates him from the rest of his family. And like, where did he get that from? Like, I don't know if it has something to do with the whole reflection thing, if like compassion is a reflection of the like selfish, afraid, like hurt people. Like if, one way to react to the horrible family that is the Thorburns is to kind of sink into it and become shitty yourself, and the another way is to like run away and to hold on to goodness. So it still feels like there's something about the whole Blake and Rose are both right-handed, and there's something about the whole, I don't know, I'm just really curious as to like how Blake was made.
What ideas do you have about
important.
that now?
Oh god, okay. Like it kind of feels like Grandma set it up with the lawyers, and then like that, like they would use Barbatorum to remove Rose's reflection from herself. Does Rose have a reflection? I guess we don't know yet, but I just had a thought. I don't know if it's absolutely insane. What if it was Grandma Rose's reflection that they cut off? Not Rose's? Okay, so what I was thinking, right, was that like Molly gets picked as custodian and Rose gets picked as heir, but in a like sneaky weird way where no one really knows about it, or something. And then like they're all kind of in the house fucking with the demon and like making Blake, with like the help of a lawyer and Rose and Barbatorum. Molly at one point in this chapter says like they're making so much noise I can't sleep. And the first time I read it, I was like, oh, there were like goblins and shit like besieging her house, like being dickheads. But then the second time I read it, I was like, oh, what if that's like people in the house? But then, and then at one point Blake says like, I can't believe I ever thought that like Rose was a female version of me. She's just such a fucking bitch in this chapter. These chapters, she just sucks so much. And there is another Rose who Blake could have been a reflection of. Was Grandma Rose left-handed? Fuck, now I have to go back and see if Grandma Rose was left-handed.
If they even show. So, are you saying you think Blake was the real one and they like took Grandma Rose's reflection and made it into like Blake's reflection, and then but made it so that like she would come out and be the real one? Or are you saying that like Blake got fused with Grandma Rose's reflection? I guess I'm trying to figure out what you're...
I guess I'm thinking that, so I think like Rose is real. I don't think it's going to flip around again to where like just getting like like that doesn't really make sense.
Okay.
I think that, yeah, Blake was the vestige, but I think that instead of taking Rose's reflection, maybe they took Grandma Rose's reflection and turned that into Blake. Does that make sense?
Okay. So are you saying that
shoved Rose
Grandma
into a mirror
Rose
or something?
is more naturally compassionate than the other Rose? Because
yeah,
damn.
I mean, I think that they're all like really shitty people because they were raised by really shitty people and they're in really horrible circumstances, and like there's demons around and that's like corrupting everything about everything. Like I think that a lot of them like don't want to be horrible, but when the people around them are shitty to them, they react by lashing out as well, and so it's just this like cycle or whatever. It's interesting how Grandma Rose was like alone. She had her parents, but her mom was gone all the time. She was off at like boarding school or something half the time, and like she put her baby on top of a pile of rotting pig carcasses, and like that's really hard to get around, but I don't know. It I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to look past. It's one of those, things people frown upon in parenting.
Yeah. But when we think about her and Eamon's relationship, at least, like, there's one person on this earth that she, like, maybe was actually her friend. And, like, Rose doesn't have that. I don't know. And, like, again, that's probably Grandma Rose's fault for, like, being horrible to everyone, but...
Okay. So it's like everyone gets a little bit more horrible, like, in terms of going down the line just because they're raised even, like, shittier than the last?
Yeah, maybe. It's part of it.
That's pretty damn bad, especially considering that, like, the younger ones didn't even know magic or demons are real. So they were, like, real shitty. It's impressive.
Yeah, well, you think that if, like, there's a whole bunch of magical demon bad energy, like, all around all the time, like, presumably Barbatorm's been in their attic their whole lives, basically, because I don't think she would have, like, let him go. At least, like, if you knew about the practice, you could, like, understand a little bit of why it was so awful. Whereas they just had this, like, horrible energy and, like, quote unquote weren't allowed to be friends with anyone in the town, and just like, yeah. Okay, here's some evidence for Grandma Rose being left-handed. Oh fuck, I should look at her diary chapter. Okay, so so this means actually nothing, but I'm gonna say it. So her nurse stood to her left, right? And he hands her a cup of tea. And maybe it would make more sense to cross your hand over your body to your left side to grab the tea. But maybe it makes sense to not do that. Oh, no, maybe it makes sense to cross over your body, grab the saucer with your right hand, and then grab the tea with your left hand. And I mean, I guess people are ambidextrous when it comes to lifting something up to their mouth, but like, I really need to start rereading the story to get all the little things. Sorry, I control F'd left and right to see if it was like her left hand, but that would have been weird. Okay. Back to Max. So Max panicking about the Thorburns is really fun. It helps to put us in the mindset and remember it's not just like these people don't know Blake, they don't know Molly, and they don't know Rose, and like, yeah, they should definitely be afraid of one and or two of those people. But like, people freaking out because Blake's here, you have to remember, like, he's not Blake, he's a Thorburn. And so, like, with one, they're all talking in conserved voices. Two, Will have them taking decisive action, saying that, like, most of them, as far as Mags knows at least, like, don't know Blake's around. And then 3 fucking semi-functional Thorburns, each with serious fucking issues. I was like, yeah, that's accurate. And so, yeah, they'll be flying around in a mad panic, propelled here and there by the sheer violence with which they're shitting their pants, which, God, Maggie's great. And then the rest are going to be getting organized to murder you and pointing the finger at me. And it's like, yeah. And then my thought is like, oh, what are they going to do when Paige shows up? It's like, it feels like Paige has to come back into the story. But yeah.
I mean, but
yeah.
No, you're probably right. I mean, like, do you think, I mean, they might look at her a little bit more fondly than the other ones just because she's like, with, at least last time we saw her, she was like hanging out with Isadora.
Right. I'm wondering if, like, we know that Isadora and the Duchamps like know each other and make deals, and I'm wondering if like her taking on Paige was like kind of on their behalf. Like, I wonder, are they happy about it? Are they upset about it? Like, because it does sort of it potentially takes Paige off the board, in terms of the Thorburn fuckery.
I mean, that was arguably like the nicest thing she could have done for Paige. You know?
Yeah. I mean, the weird thing is, like, what if everyone except Paige dies? Like, she still gets the house, right? And then what do you do? I mean, I guess if she doesn't fulfill the obligations, which she can't unless she does choose to marry a man, then the house would go to whoever the fuck.
Just be like, hurry and spend as much as you can.
Yeah. But yeah, so they're freaking out, and I put this in the notes somewhere, I don't remember where, but when like Blake talks to Molly and then Mags like chides him for talking to Molly because it's like making it worse or whatever, it reminds me of Phineas and Ferb. So I haven't really seen this show very much, to be honest, but it's because I was like, oh, it's like a babysitter vibe sort of, and I was like, oh no, it's the older sister in Phineas and Ferb. So Mags is like Candace, like chiding Phineas to like not do something stupid, and Phineas is just like, I'm gonna do it, and like in that show it always, you know, is fine and works out and whatever, but it kind of felt like, yeah, a like older sisterly, please stop doing this, Blake continues to do this vibe.
I haven't seen that show.
It's really cute. It's quality.
It's quality.
Perry the Platypus.
I mean, it's hard to beat a platypus.
So, okay, sidebar. Perry the Platypus is a secret agent, and he's also their pet. And there's this like evil genius who is like Perry's nemesis or whatever. But like the amazing thing is like his family doesn't know that he's like a secret agent. Like he puts on a fedora and like stands up and like does his secret agent shit, and then to like be in disguise, he just takes his fedora off and gets this like blank stare on his face and gets on all fours or whatever, and like no one can tell that these two people are the same person, and he'll just like he'll put on his hat in front of people and then like Doofenshmirtz, the bad guy or whatever, and he'll be like, Perry the Platypus, and like it's just really fucking funny.
You know, I don't know anything really about this show besides what like I don't know anything about the show except for what you just told me, but I was just thinking like I should put some shit about platypus as a fact someday, just because they're pretty wild animals. But I was just thinking, like, can people even keep them as pets? And short answer is no, probably not. And let me see. So, like, but they're difficult to, I guess, take care of, and they're really fucking expensive. Like this one link I'm looking at here, which is a Facebook page, but it's like looks like it's Australian Platypus Conservancy official Facebook page, says that just as an example, one of the sanctuaries in Victoria that has platypuses estimates each of its platypuses costs at least $13,000 per year to support.
Dang.
So I'm like, holy shit, Phineas and Ferb like must be fucking loaded.
Well, that's the thing. I think that they don't like Perry as a secret agent supports himself maybe with a lot of that stuff, and they don't realize that he would cost that much if he didn't have a job.
Where the hell did they get him?
I don't know.
Did he just like show up and was like, hey, I need a place to, I mean, obviously he's pretending to be a pet, so like he wouldn't say this, but be like, I need a place to crash. These people look like somewhere I could easily like they look pretty like clueless. They're not gonna notice my secret agent antics. I'm
gonna Google this real fast. Yeah, so he's the star of the B plot for every episode of the series, and he was in the first episode. And how did they get him? How did they buy?
Okay, look, this fandom.com.
Well, like, wait. Perry was made a platypus because of the animal's striking appearance and the lack of public knowledge of the animal, which allowed the writers to make things up about the species. But also, everyone loves him.
That's funny. Okay, on Phineas and Ferb fandom wiki, it says Perry was adopted 5 years ago by the Flynn Fletcher family. After Bucky got ill and left, whoever that is, from an animal shelter run by the OWCA. The boys chose him because of his wall-eyed gaze that made it appear as though he was looking at both Phineas and Ferb at the same time.
Aw, that's so
It's very
cute.
cute. That's very cute.
Apparently, the OWCA stands for Organization Without a Cool Acronym, and that's the crime-fighting spy organization that he works for. Which is
what
so
a fun
good.
cartoon. Jeez. That's really funny. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, they're very cute, but they're also poisonous, right? Or they're venomous.
Something?
They're venomous.
Yeah.
And that's all I'll give about facts right now so that we can move on. I don't spend a bunch of time Googling. But I did know that. Anyway. So Max goes to get salt. I think that's kind of where we're at, right?
Yeah. She goes to get salt, and Blake stays with Cum Nugget and the other goblin, and they have a snowball fight, which is great. There's this little moment where Irene and Callan show up where the goblins are fucking like throwing ice at each other, and one of them is like bleeding, and she sees, basically a small child bleeding, and she gives the goblin like a handkerchief or Kleenex or whatever, like to stop the bleeding, and then is like, don't do that. And it was like, this is like the most heartwarming thing that a material Thorburn has ever done.
Yeah.
But it's also like so condescending. It's like, oh, like that's actually kind of nice of her, but also what the fuck?
But also she's still being kind of an asshole about it.
She's such an asshole about it. And it's so funny, and I just it's like such a motherly moment, but it's all This
I mean, if I saw two kids throwing chunks of ice at each other and one of them was bleeding, I'd be like, I mean, that is pretty much what you have to do, right? Be like, hey, like, cut that shit out.
I mean, I think, I'd be like, oh, are you okay? Like, here you go. Like, hey, stop throwing ice at each other.
You guys gotta be careful. Don't be trying to give each other a concussion.
Right. Like, depending on how old I thought they were, that sort of. But at least in Are You Okay? Just, I don't know. She's nuts. It's fine. But yeah, I mean, and then like another nice beat where they're talking about, dusting the snow off the memorial and how they've done it before. And like, I don't know, it's just, the Thorburns are awful, and you forget that they're family. And that like, at least in some of the units, they really care about each other, as much as they can, I guess. Like, we also learn later that like, Callan, at least probably all of them, feel a little guilty about Molly's death and how they, didn't do anything. I mean, they didn't necessarily know, but like they feel like they could have done more. And that could be driving a lot of this, but it's like, oh yeah, this whole time. I mean, I guess it's been like a month or something. But maybe, yeah. And they've just been in this town, like living here with their, I don't know, daughter dead. It's, yeah.
Yeah, that's fucking hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And then of course she name drops the Duchamps. It's really funny, like the Duchamps are like the most connected family, and then it's like, haha. But because they're enchantresses. But like with Sandra, with Aunt Irene, and then with Isadora and stuff, like I'm always a little surprised when they're mentioned. But like, yeah, like, I mean, I guess it's not that hard to figure out who Molly Walker's mom is, and be like, oh, I heard this about your niece, go off, do the thing or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm still a little surprised when people like know each other, I guess.
That's true. So Blake basically, Mags ends up coming back and he's like, okay, I'll meet you there, basically. He's like, I'm gonna try to give chase. And he ends up running into like this trio of others who just really want to get in his fucking way. So he gets into conflict and slices them up a bit. And Faisal pops up, because Mags is kind of just like, you don't want to be like fucking murdering Johannes's guests because you're gonna get fucked. So Faisal shows up and they have a negotiation.
Yeah, this part was also exciting. Ratchets up the tension, makes things more complicated. Other people in town know about him now. But also, like, were they in the mirror world with him? Because that's what it felt like. I mean, Blake like grabs one of them or whatever, sort of, and well, yeah, one throws him. It seems like, I mean, he calls them like Tweedledum and Tweedledee, but it really does seem like these are like from Alice in Wonderland, basically, like metal dudes from Alice in Wonderland. He describes like kind of seeing into like almost another dimension, and he sees like red stone fit together without mortar, highlighted by gold, and like a carving of a dragon or a dog, which like that it also kind of feels like East Asian vibes with like a dragon carving or whatever. But also like through the looking glass, right, is like that's the thing that the Tweedles are from, or at least they're from Alice in Wonderland. And it's just like, oh yeah, like does the mirror world have like portals into other mirror dimensions? Like, is that a path? Like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
Yeah. He also mentions twice how small their dicks are, which is interesting. I guess it's a visual. It's an image.
It's an
image. But yeah, so they fight, and Blake is badass and hardcore, and Maggie manages to stop him from killing them while he's in this like fun bloodlusty rage thing from being a boogeyman or whatever, which is still kind of nuts that Blake's a boogeyman. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, Maggie's like stops him. Face all shows up, and he doesn't know who Blake is, and Mags runs off, and like Blake doesn't want to tell him because like being like, hello, I am a Thorburn, like, yeah, probably not the best thing to mention in this town. But yeah, one fun thing that I don't know if this was an intentional homage or whatever was Faisal describes his old job kind of like sitting and watching and waiting, but then occasionally like, you know, creating valleys and rivers and like forming the land and all this shit. And it really reminded me of like the equivalent of the angels in Lord of the Rings. The way that like that's described in the Silmarillion. And I was wondering if that was kind of an intentional homage, or if it's just like, yeah, like angels flying around creating geological features isn't that original, or like, you know, it's just sort of a common-ish thing. But I liked that paragraph. It was like, ooh.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So then Faisal drops this offer, and like, Blake should take this offer. Like, holy shit.
Like, what the fuck?
It's such a good deal. Like, yeah. You know, like, he has to join Johannes, right? And that's not great. But he would be like free. Like, it seems like Faisal could make him human, or at least like really help fix him or whatever. But like he'd get out of the mirror. He, you know, possibly would like lose the connection to the drains and all that shit. Like, he just would like, his life would just get so much better.
Yeah.
And I guess like the thing is, he just doesn't want to like have to work against his friends. Even though his friends don't remember him, and
he probably could still help his friends if he had his body back.
Right. I feel like maybe he could talk with Johannes and be like, look, like, I don't want you to like, you know, horribly murder Rose, but we can talk about it. And like the other three people, like, I don't want to do anything to hurt them, but I also don't want Rose to like be lord of this town because that's stupid. And like, so I'll help you against the other people. I mean, like, making like, you know, violent other Disney World or whatever is like not great. I guess like violent other Westworld. But I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't necessarily be the right move for this story, but I was like, you really should maybe think about this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And like part of me is like, you know, Faisal seems like really like a chill dude and like a good guy, and like, you know, an angel is down with this whole murder Disneyland thing, and so maybe it's fine. But then you remember that angels in this world aren't like capital G good.
Yeah.
They just like capital O order. Which it just really does suck that like there's this like horrifyingly evil, creepy things, and their opposite is just like kind of neutral things that like order. Like
Yeah.
Having like Jesus come down from the sky and be like, I love all of you, and just like fix everything isn't like necessarily a satisfying narrative, but come on.
I mean,
God, and then especially later when Faisal's like, oh, like the demons are gonna win. It's only a matter of time. Like, my God.
like, what the fuck? Why?
Oh, that's such a sad statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why you gotta do me like that?
It's so awful.
It's pretty awful.
Yeah, it's also like, so they work out this deal where he's gonna go to Johannes' domain and he's gonna get a favor and like nourishment and he'll be happy about it. And like, I like that he specified, yeah, like the you of now will be happy. You know, it's not just like, I will have mine wiped you and then you'll be happy.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, really cool, straight up specific promise. I don't know. But also like, he says your relative is confronting Rose at Hillsglade House, and like, how could he tell that he? I mean, I guess he's talking about Irene and Callan at this point, because Molly's not really confronting Rose. I mean, maybe, but like, he can tell that he has connections to the Thorburns or something, but also, I don't know. I don't understand how people can tell, although maybe the connections are like regrowing or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, also these things are the Aiea or something, and I don't know what they are. And I don't know if it's going to be important, but
never know.
I wonder if
it could be.
If Alice in Wonderland will have something to do with the resolution of the story. Like
Alice in Wonderland.
Like that, like the dimension of Through the Looking Glass. I don't know. Anyway.
It's a good question. So, let me see. Any other thoughts about this section here?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, he and Mags end up getting to Hillsglade House, where Rose is in a conflict with Aunt Irene and Callan. Blake and Mags tell Rose about the Molly situation, and she reluctantly agrees to let them handle it.
Yeah, so it seems like Sandra has kind of made it seem like Rose wants to sell the property, which is going to sell it, which she can't do. And they're just like, yeah, very mad, kind of screaming at each other, like really upset, and like they're going through Molly's version of the contract to try to find a loophole to get the house away from Rose. I'm wondering what Molly's version said.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it was really similar to Blake's, and maybe Rose has a very different contract. Although, God, we'll get there. Okay. And then this part's funny where it's like, you didn't plow the driveway for 3 weeks and you're supposed to maintain the property. And I think that was because of like the time bubble. And then I realized, like, why did that go away? Like, I get that it was all kind of a like bullshit illusion, but also like someone had to get rid of it, right? Was it that Laird died? Like, how did that happen? How did that happen? Is this an important question?
I mean,
am I supposed to know?
I don't think that they've gone over that.
Okay. Well, anyway, I mean, I guess like shoveling the driveway is important, but
is it though?
No. Like, because even like, you know, gardening or whatever would be a much more permanent thing. And
like, I would say, yeah, your house taken away because you didn't. Yeah, I don't know.
Right, like substantial performance is in the United States the standard for service contracts, like contracts that don't have to do with buying goods. And so I would say that Rose has thus far substantially performed, and that like this is so minor that it couldn't be counted as a breach. But they gotta try. But that just sort of made me laugh that like, oh my God.
Yeah, I'm assuming that Aunt Irene is not a lawyer.
Yeah, I mean, well, they might be. I don't know.
Yeah,
their mom was. Maybe some of them are lawyers. Like Grandma Rose was a lawyer, so maybe some of them also
followed in her footsteps.
Right.
Well.
And you know, you in law school you're taught to like argue fucking anything. So
I guess so, because then, you know, the other person might not know, and it's kind of crappy, but they're kind of crappy.
Yeah. But yeah, they leave, and then Rose is like, oh my God, why are you here? And they like immediately start bitching at each other, which is fun. And Max is like, please.
Like, please, like,
Please.
Calm the fuck
Because
down.
like Mags and Blake are the only people who remember what they like were like, and so it's funny. And yeah. So it turns out Blake has like become even more fucked up. His ribs are exposed, and it's bad. And like, yeah, this it's a ticking time clock
Time bomb
thing.
Yeah.
In terms of Blake only has so much time until he stops being Blake. Because he gets so filled up with spirits or whatever, like so destroyed that he's not him anymore. So that's fun. Keeps the tension
That sucks.
up.
It sure does.
And then at the end of this section, I put, God, she's insufferable. How much willpower did it take for her to not be the fucking worst in the first few chapters of this book? I do think that she was trying, and I do think that she like did change and grow with Blake, and it wasn't great, obviously, and their relationship really wasn't getting better, but it seemed like maybe she had become somewhat of a better person, and now she just has like, yeah.
Fucking erase all that shit.
Erase all that shit and add like a whole heaping of conquest like bullshit.
Yeah. Conquest.
Barbatorum, like it's so
shit.
bad. Yeah.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty fucking bad. Well, Blake I guess interacts with Molly and accidentally chases her off. They go back to her grave because they assume that she's probably going to go back to where she's most familiar with. And they see Aunt Irene and Callan there again, and Mags gets into a very shitty interaction with them. After they leave, Molly goes up to Mags and basically is like, I want revenge for dying because you murdered me.
Yeah, and I go back and forth as to like how fair I find that sentiment, but we'll talk about that when we get there.
Yes.
So they have this plan. They're going to bind Molly. They're going to go talk to, Blake's going to go talk to Johannes, and then they're going to deal with the legal stuff. Which it is funny to send like a girl with no real identity and a mirror man to deal with the legal issues, but like whatever. I'm not sure if this is like means that Rose is going to look up the IAEA or whatever, but it's the least she could fucking do. But it's Rose.
But it's Rose.
But yeah, and Blake is reminiscing on how hard Mags's job is, having to like run everywhere all the time, and how, you know, it being tied to herself sucks. And he's like, I don't think I could do that. Like, I don't think, you know, I could like live where I'm unable to help my friends. And she gets offended. Even though, yeah, Blake is just so, his whole thing right now is helping those, you know, 3 people and, Evan, the 4 people inside that house. That he's just like, yeah, I couldn't do this. And, you know, she thinks of Blake as her friend. And so she feels this is kind of like a dig at her because she can't help Blake in a lot of ways. And I'm wondering if like this exchange is a part of what leads her to make her decision at the end of this chapter to like ask Molly to be her familiar. I mean, I think that she really wants to atone for what she did, and this is the best way to do it, arguably. Although maybe Rose or one of the 3 baby practitioners could have taken Molly as a familiar, but they do, I don't know, they have this connection. I don't know. It just felt like an important moment.
Sure.
Oh, another thing Molly says that really makes me want to know what happened before she died in that house. She says, I left the house to get away. And it feels like if you were alone in the house, like maybe you're just like, I have to fucking get out of here. There's a demon in the attic. You know, I don't like being alone. I want to, you know, go for a walk or whatever. But if you know everyone like outside is trying to kill you, it feels like it's got to be something pretty bad to push you out of the house. And I feel like her and Rose being bottled up in the house together with like demon lawyer would maybe be enough.
Yeah. That's reasonable.
Yeah. Although she says here Rose is next in line, and she also says like Grandma Rose didn't make me first heir and custodian. And so was Rose always supposed to be the heir, or is okay. Well, no, that doesn't I don't know, because like I was going along thinking that like Molly was around because we needed time to like take Rose's reflection and turn it into Blake to give Rose more of a chance to whatever, right? But is Rose fully stepping into Molly's shoes, or is Rose the next, like, custodian? And, like, is Blake supposed to be the heir because he's grandma's reflection? I don't know if that fits. I don't know. I just want to know so bad. God. Because, like, Blake is about to, like, be my personal hero. Like, Blake is, like, first heir and custodian. Like, what do you mean she didn't do it? And he's, like, pushing her to get, like, a fucking answer to the thing that I, like, really want to know about. And Mags is like, hey, what about, like, the consequences this has on our immediate future? And I'm like, I don't give a fuck! And so she goes wraith and runs away, which is fun.
Yeah.
And God, that was so close. Like, at least it's confirmed that it's not just like Rose like lied or something. Although God, I don't. It's fine. So yeah, so this is the second mad dash. Well, okay, so they went to the memorial and then they ran to Hillsglide House, and now they're running back to the memorial. And Blake is running and trying to like stay in the light or whatever. I don't know what would happen if he just like let Maggie run and then like popped in to find her or something, but it's interesting that with this happening, him having to run. I also keep picturing like little tiny Blake and like huge people outside, but I guess if Blake walked right up to the mirror hole, it would just be like his eyeball or whatever. And so, but like, you know, like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and you know, like Mike TV.
Yeah.
Where he gets to go in the TV, but then when they take him out, he's tiny. That's sort of what I imagine Blake being like in the mirror world, and it's wrong, but it's fun.
That was kind of fun.
Tiny Blake.
Jeez.
Yeah, so then it's sad because, you know, Irene and Callan are back here, and Molly's sad, and we're sad, and Mag decides to go down there, and they're like, oh my god, are you like obsessed with her? Ugh. Like, you just want money, and I'm just like, my god, like yeah, money's great and a lot of people want it, but also like, oh my god, like,
yeah, like, you guys fucking suck.
And yeah, so then Molly is like, she murdered me, and Callan's like, do you feel guilty? Because she's influencing what the innocents can hear, kind of, except they don't know.
Yeah, or they get the like, yeah,
the vibe.
They get that vibe.
Yeah. And so Callan is just like yelling at her and berating her, and she's like walking away, and she's like, well, I'm gonna come back later. And then Blake comes in clutch, as like, I don't know, seemingly one of the only people who effectively stands up to Callan, although I guess I don't have a lot to say that other people yell at him. So never mind. But he's like, say, don't you wish you did something different too, because he sucks or whatever. And
yeah,
it's also a humanizing moment for him to have it be like, oh yeah, he's sad about his sisters being dead, and he feels bad, because that's something that is pretty common, I think, when people die, is to be like, you know, what could I personally have done to stop this? And I don't know. God, but then Mag says the title of our podcast, and that was great. I should have typed the whole thing out, but she says like something like, the nightmares have got to pale in comparison to this, like how, you know, how fucked up it's gonna get with her curse. And I was like, pale in comparison. Sometimes I'll hear it just like totally randomly in life, and I like get all excited, and I'm like, this is not like, about me.
I did not get the title from this section, but I was pretty proud of coming up with the title for this.
It's a great title.
It's a great title.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I hear it sometimes too, and I'm like, oh, that's nothing to do with me, but you know, that's okay.
Totally.
Jeez.
But yeah, so then I guess Irene and Callan leave, and Molly comes back and is yelling at Mags, which is fair. I mean, it's just like, she starts talking about how like they used corkscrews and stuff to like torture and kill her, and like, you know, they thought that I was a mauled animal, which, like, Mags, why the fuck did you tell her that? Like, why did you tell her that? No, she didn't need to know that.
She didn't need to know that.
God, yeah.
I'm like, way to make it worse for yourself, man.
Yeah, she didn't know, obviously, that this was gonna happen. But yeah, and it just, like, I feel kind of, like, I mean, I really understand Molly, like, being upset and hating her. I was surprised because I kind of expected that Mag's, like, apologizing and all of these things would really, like, help, but she's just absorbing all the, like, really negative energy everywhere. And I like how Mags doesn't want to make excuses. But then of course Molly, like, doesn't even want to hear context or anything. Which is, again, it's like all of this is fair, but like I'm disappointed and Molly's wrong. But also she's an entity made up of grief and anger. So
yeah, I don't think she's real, like, it's not, yeah.
Yeah, although she's transcended from straight up like echo form or whatever, right? Like, I don't know that this is a soul or whatever, but she's able to talk and respond and like make, she's not just repeating phrases from her life or whatever. She's like engaged more. I don't fully understand why sometimes it seems like she can look at Blake and sometimes she can't. But maybe as she gets stronger, she can see him in the mirror. But yeah, then Molly goes from me being like, she's an other, so what? She can't practice, to like lifting branches and drawing runes and like making like fucking crazy wind and all this shit. And I'm like, oh, oops.
Yeah. Oopsies.
And like, she has ghost blood. And it's just like it's Maggie's, like she's using Maggie's power, but also Maggie seems, or Mags, whatever, seems to be convinced that Blake has also been feeding her, because like I don't think it was just a coincidence that the day Blake shows up she becomes sentient. Mags says like, I don't think it's just me like giving her power. I mean, she's taking it from the energy of her family, but also possibly specifically from Blake as well. And I'm hoping this won't be another like Rose siphoning all of Blake's energy thing, but I don't know. Yeah, so then we end this little bit with the, there's two options. Wraiths either stop themselves by burning through all their power, or they resolve their issue, which is usually getting revenge. Which is fun. This is also horrible.
Yes.
And stressful and bad.
Yes. So, Molly basically gets away. They end up Mags and Blake end up splitting up. So Blake can meet with Faisal. They can he can get some nourishment and they can meet parts of their agreement, maybe amend some parts of their agreement. And Faisal wants to make sure Blake is satisfied with the deal. And Mags goes ahead and tracks Molly at that time.
Woohoo! This part was cool. He just sort of like tries to go to the domain and then Faisal's there. And I didn't get this joke until it was like pointed out kind of by the text, but it was really good that Faisal's like, oh, I like to stretch my legs. I rather like walks. And he's a fucking dog. And Blake is like, and he's like, it's not because I'm a dog. Because dogs love walks. And I was just like, this is so good. It reminds me of I can't put my finger on it now, but I feel like there's some show or movie or something where there's like this like very dignified old soul in the body of like an animal who like will like really love like scratches or whatever, like somewhat undignified things because they're a dog or a cat or whatever it is. And I can't figure it out, but it's a great energy.
I know this is not what you're talking about but when I think of old soul, like old wise soul and dog, I think of Homeward Bound and Shadow.
Very true.
Great movie.
Shadow would be a decent familiar.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Which literary dog do you want as your familiar?
Do you think that the three in Homeward Bound match up to our three protagonists in Pale?
Whoa, interesting. Kind of. Wow.
Kind of.
So,
not
like,
perfect, but I mean,
yeah.
Shadow's
so Lucy was Shadow.
definitely.
Is it Missy? and then like Chip or something. Why do I maybe remember this? Chance. I think it's Missy.
Is it Missy?
But yeah, the cat with Verona.
It's Sassy.
And Chance with Avery because the higher energy. Like that's like kind of the weakest fit in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Like
Chance
a little
doesn't
bit
fit
of
quite as well, but
Sassy was Sally Field.
Oh shit, I didn't know that. That's
Michael
wild.
J. Fox was Chance.
I think I knew that, but
I love this.
That's great. But yeah, Shadow's definitely like Lucy's John, and then I mean Sassy's a cat, so
like Chance is a little bit of the Chance is a little bit of Verona's like mischievousness, but cat.
And
Avery is high energy and likes to
high energy and like I mean hangs out with a lot of goblins who are kind of silly and stuff. So
true,
that's cool. Anyway,
nice. But yeah, so God, it just like this is another moment where you're just like you should take the deal.
Yeah,
and because like so he Face Off figured out who Blake was by looking in Johannes's connections and finding like the broken ones or whatever, and he found like an old image of Blake from when Johannes saw him, and he takes that and he finds a couple of others who had seen Blake and takes those and makes this like image that will help like keep Blake from falling apart as fast. And it's just like really nice. Like it's so thoughtful. And I mean, I guess he's like an angel and this like wasn't that hard, but it was just like really nice. Like he's done all this in the past like 20 minutes or whatever, maybe, an hour. Like, and so yeah, so then, and like that alone is like, really, really great. But then, we've had a nice talk and this has been really nice. And I'd be happy to like keep talking, but also you have things to do. So we can talk about those favors. And so the favors are to help trap Molly and to help free Green Eyes. And it's interesting that, I mean, he asked for 2 and he's really reticent, but Blake is like, if I ever get a chance, I'm going to kill this demon. And he's like, that's good enough. And I'm like, why? But okay. So it seems like he fulfills the first favor at the end of this chapter, maybe by keeping Molly at the house. I don't really know, but maybe because they do kind of corner her there. And he does agree to free Green Eyes from the drains. And like part of me is like, this is so great, and part of me is like, I didn't really expect her to come back in the story. And like, can she live outside the water? Like, what would she do? I don't think she likes being down there, and I think she'd be happy to not be, but also, like, I don't remember if she has legs. Like, maybe she does. Like, yeah, she probably still has legs.
Do you think she has legs?
Well, I don't know.
How do they describe her?
I don't remember. I mean, she can have sex, so she has something.
Okay, a lot of things can have sex and that don't have legs, Malia.
Yeah. I don't remember if she has a fishtail or whatever. I think I don't know. Does she have a fishtail? You can tell me.
She very well may have a fishtail.
Oh my god. That's not a yes.
I have to be kind of annoying. It is a definite maybe.
It's like the 2 circle eyes and I don't know.
Yeah, she has a fucking tail, Malia.
She does?
Yes.
Okay, well, yeah, so like what's the plan? Does she just get to be like alone in a fish tank for the rest of her life? Do
you think that he's gonna bring her back? How big do you think she is? Do you think what
like
size tank do you think?
Tank. Not a little fish
tank. Like a 10-gallon?
Like an aquarium
gallon,
tank. Like an aquarium.
He's gonna shrink her down so you can fit in there.
Like the Shape of Water, which I haven't seen. Like that fish tank.
The Shape of Water. I haven't seen that.
I think that's the Sex with the Fishman one. But he's in a big tank.
With the Fishman one?
Yeah, it won the Oscar. Or like the 13th year.
Yeah, that's not. I was like, are you talking about Splash? Like that weird Tom Hanks movie with the mermaid?
No, this was more recent. It was Guillermo del Toro.
I don't. I mean, I think I just never heard about that film because Sex with the Fishman.
Yep,
is not ringing a bell. But maybe that's a good thing.
Well,
maybe that's why you're confused. You're like
on it for the Doofcast, so you can go listen to it.
Okay, cool. They put an episode out. Did they talk about how you can't have sex without legs?
Well, okay, this was years ago when they did Guillermo del Toro movies, and they didn't, but I just I don't know. Your vagina is sort of like between your legs. And you don't have to do things
you don't
with
have a
vagina
vagina if you don't have legs. You don't have a penis or vagina if you don't have legs. That's the rule.
Well, no, you might, but if you have a tail there,
you don't have anything. You don't have a vagina or a penis if you don't have legs. That is the rule. That is what we've established.
No,
it has to be like that. You need legs. If you lose a leg, you start losing your vagina.
Okay, but if your legs are replaced by one huge leg, where do you fit your vagina?
Okay, wait. You're saying if magically your legs are fused together into one huge leg, where does your vagina go?
Yeah, like a fishtail.
I wish Vitalis was here right now.
Okay.
Oh, Malia.
I didn't want this to be a big conversation. I just don't know what to do with green eyes.
Animals with multiple legs? How do they have multiple vaginas? You have to have you have to have a pair of genitals.
Animals.
You have to have genitals for every pair of legs.
Humans that get a fishtail that replaces their legs, right? Does Ariel have a vagina? And if so, where is it?
Okay, I knew we'd bring Disney into this some fucking how. I mean, I know that doesn't originate with Disney, but a fucking course.
But why does she want legs that bad?
You think it's because she doesn't have a vagina? You think Ariel's oh man, I'm acting like it's because I want to walk and dance and sprint, but it's really because I want to fuck someone. Because I've heard it's really cool.
So with Eric. She's so obsessed with him. She gives up her family and her voice, her ability to communicate and her entire life.
Yeah, that's right. We just all produce asexually. It's you cut off a leg, or you cut off our tail, and we just sprout another one.
I don't know how mermaids work. Okay, I don't think that green eyes is necessarily fertile.
Is that how fish work?
No, that's not how fish work.
We've heard of fish eggs before, which implies sexual reproduction, but they don't have legs. Fish have secret little teeny legs. That's the secret.
No,
fish have really tiny little legs.
To have a vagina, but do fish have vaginas? Is that how it works? You can go ask Vitalis if fish have vaginas.
He is not home right now for me to ask him.
That's probably for the best.
Would you like to Google fish vaginas, Malia? Would you like to ruin your internet history that way?
We can just move on.
How do we move on, Malia?
We start talking about Jeremy.
Oh, that brings a whole other question, because that guy's a fucking that guy's already a fucking perv weirdo. How many legs do you think all those guys have?
Over a year later for me bringing up bondage in the first episode of this podcast.
Look, Malia, you brought it up. You brought both of these things up. You brought it upon yourself. No, that has nothing to do with that, but thanks for bringing that up yet again. Thank you. Do people think that I'm gonna just okay, I want to know, is this I want to see if this comes up on Google.
Do fish have vaginas?
I wasn't even thinking. I was just, do fish? Okay, I'm not even kidding. I typed in "do fish," and the first one that popped up, and I don't know if this is because I just
yelled at a bunch. Apparently, they don't actually listen to you.
Okay, I don't know. Well, okay, I honestly typed in "do fish," and the first one is "do fish reproduce asexually?"
Oh no, they don't. See, I know that. I just don't know if
I mean, but they don't have legs, Malia. How do they have sex if they don't have legs?
No, it's just the vagina part. I do mermen just have like dicks on top of their tails? I mean, I guess.
That reminds me of, like, what was that Jaden Smith like quote about eyes? What was that? What the fuck did he say? How can mirrors be real if our eyes aren't real? That like reminds me of that. You know? How can we have sex if we don't have legs? And how can mirrors be real if our eyes aren't real?
I was
don't
just thinking about the
understand.
fact that she wants to fuck Blake, and like maybe she can get sexual pleasure in other ways, and probably can, but I don't know. Or maybe she still has a vagina somehow. Either way, her being taken out of her little pond and brought up to be like Johannes' slave or whatever maybe isn't the best thing.
But also, does Ariel have a vagina? You know?
I mean, she does now. And that's all I can say. She does now.
It's alright. I mean, we can edit as much of this out as you want, Malia. But
I don't know if "Do Fish Have a Vagina" is like a really good name for the podcast or not. Because now that I've been uploading YouTube videos, sometimes they like get weird about the names of our podcasts, which is fair. But we have one that's ranked as 18 and up because it has the word fuck in the title. And
fuck.
I know.
Well, that's annoying. So you're saying if we put vagina in the title, it's gonna
I don't know.
If we just like
Vagina's
I mean, I feel like
a swear word.
I know, but you think like it would flag because it's like, oh my gosh, they're talking about genitalia.
Maybe.
I don't know. These are wild questions, guys. They're wild questions.
Yeah. Anyway, at what point Faisal's like, I gotta go because an unexpected group has just passed into this realm. And I'm wondering, like, is that when the moment Jeremy arrives? Because but I thought Blake had passed through a couple days before when Jeremy arrived, not right then. So I don't know.
This is I'm sorry. All right, sorry. I keep thinking about this conversation because it's just really funny to me. So I'm just getting distracted. Okay, you're right. We'll keep talking about stuff. That's fine.
It can be a good discussion question. Okay.
Wait, what? Okay, wait. What kind of discussion question are you gonna phrase? Do fish have vaginas?
Do fish have vaginas? Maybe two mermaids.
That's their discussion question that you want?
No.
It's gonna be the same answer. I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll be different. Be like, I mean, I don't know. There might be some fish that reproduce asexually. Who knows? But I feel like most of them, because there's some fucking weird animals out there. So who knows? But I'm gonna just guess most of them. Okay, we're not gonna make that our discussion question.
Okay.
All right. What the fuck are we talking about? Okay, we're talking about can she live outside the water? We're gonna get her a fish tank. We're getting Green Eyes a fish tank.
Okay.
Maybe she'll sprout legs, and maybe she'll be like Ariel, where he'll give her magic legs, and she can walk around, around the land.
If anyone in this story is Ursula, it's Johannes. 100%.
Do you think he's gonna take her voice? Her magical voice.
He'll take something,
He's gonna take her legs, or he's gonna take her, not her legs. She doesn't have legs.
Maybe she'll take the deal with Faisal and like become a real girl and like work for Johannes or something.
I guess we'll have to see. All right. I guess we can talk about Jeremy for a minute. So you brought him up.
Well, I already mentioned how I think he showed up now, and that's a fun setting. Like our minds, because like as of I don't know exactly when he goes to see Sandra, but it's kind of like soon the shit might start to go down, and maybe it actually won't be this arc, and maybe it'll be next arc, but like soon we might actually see Jeremy.
So this is random, but just so that we don't get a bunch of people saying this, technically it's not a vagina, but it's like how it's. I think it's the same kind of or it's similar terminology to birds in terms of they have a cloaca.
No. Cool. Okay.
Yeah, which I'm like, I was thinking about that because I'm like, I feel like I've had a discussion about this with Vitalis before about how it's like not called like it's a cloaca, I believe. But I couldn't remember if that was for fish or for birds because I feel like I've heard Ben say something about that too, because
Mm-hmm.
that man loves birds more than
He loves birds.
holy shit, he loves birds. Like, oh my fucking goodness, he loves birds. So he just knows a lot about birds. So I wasn't sure if it was one or the other, but I checked and it's both cloaca.
Cool.
But did you know if you for a starfish, if we were talking about a starfish, if you cut one of those in half or cut a couple legs off,
They regrow.
they
and
regrow.
On both sides. Yeah, I did know that. Well, they have to have some
Mhm.
in the middle part in it, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. They have to have some of the middle part.
But yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. So if she was part starfish,
They're
then,
resilient little
yeah.
dudes
they are.
and dudettes. And
That's right.
dude. What's the gender neutral dude?
I mean, I know it's not, but I feel like dude is
Dudex.
almost like pretty. I don't know. I
No,
like
I like dudex.
I just feel like dude X.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess. I mean, I feel like. I mean, I know it's not really, but just like I kind of treat dude and guys as gender neutral
Mm-hmm.
because, like, I feel like I call everybody that. I don't know. I'm not sure if most people consider it that now. But anyway, all right, let's fucking move on. For the love of all things holy. And non-holy, I guess. So they end up tracking Molly to a cafe, where most of Blake's family is, and Mags basically says "fuck it," and she storms in and starts yelling at Ellie, I think, about stealing her fucking bike, and makes a whole big fucking scene and sets off this salt bomb essentially to chase Molly out. And then she feels kind of bad and apologizes to the restaurant owner, and he still kind of likes her, but he kind of hates the Thorburn, so it's just like, it's okay, you can come back, but not right now, and everyone just get the fuck out.
It's so good.
It's good.
Yeah, it seems like maybe the Thorburns have been drawn into town so that they can all be dealt with in like one fell swoop, and that sucks. I mean, sort of, depending on your perspective. It's interesting I can't tell if Blake and Rose's parents also suck or not. I mean, like, expecting them to totally be changed people very quickly is a little unrealistic. But I was disappointed to see them here looking through stacks of paper. Like, wouldn't they want to support their daughter? I don't know. So that makes me worried about their last conversation and kind of sad. But yeah, they all suck, and Mags is like, I'm going in. And it's just so fun, the like yelling and the salt and the all that stuff. Yeah, it's just funny thinking like Blake's getting to see a little bit of what it was like for Rose being in the mirror and him just like doing fucking wild shit and her being like, wait, and not really having much control. Because Mags like is the one who has to do something, right? But also Blake, that's not like, it's because Blake can't. And so it's an interesting being on the other side. But when Mags was doing this stuff, I was like, fuck yeah, like this is what always works. Like, do it. Like it's really fun.
It is pretty fun.
Yeah.
All right, so they end up tracking her down again. I think it said it takes about an hour.
Oh, really?
If I remember correctly, I might have just made that up, but they track her down. It takes a little bit of time, because it does. They track her down again behind Hell's Glade House, and Mags ends up asking Molly to be her familiar, and then that's it.
Yeah, I didn't expect this at all. That was fun. Yeah, so Rose and Alexis are like standing outside and just sort of like point to where Molly is instead of like fucking doing anything herself. And I was like, my God. But I don't know. Like, why are you even outside, Rose? Like, just go away. I don't know. It's sweet. Blake misses June. Like I meant to talk about this, I think, last week, where he's thinking about June when he was with the fairy or something. And yeah, like, I don't know, that relationship is really sweet in a weird way. But yeah, so Mags, I also realized I sometimes typed Molly when I met Mags and Mags when I met Molly, so that bodes well for this budding relationship and me being able to keep track of my notes. Um, but Molly understands that she's just filled with a whole bunch of really bad energy and she keeps absorbing it. And she says, like, I know it's not me and like the awfulness is for Maggie, basically. But I don't know if that second part is true, but I don't know, this gives me hope that Molly the ghost can chill out and find more balance and still be like Molly. I mean, like, there's a big chance that she's like, no, fuck you, and runs away or whatever, but I feel like she'll take the deal. Like, if she doesn't, I mean, like, Mags apologizes to Blake. I guess the thought of taking him as a familiar had crossed her mind. It would get him out of his situation. But it hadn't crossed my mind at all. And so I feel like if this doesn't happen, then Mags will take Blake, and that just doesn't feel quite right. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, because Rose is going to take Blake as a familiar, which is dumb and probably not happening, but that's a fun prediction.
It is.
No response. Yep.
I mean,
also, like, yeah, Maggie's just like, damn the consequences.
think,
and I'm like, there might be a lot of fucking consequences.
Do you think Blake would accept it if Rose tried to ask him to be a familiar?
Well, it's not just going to be like they're going to be in a really bad situation for some reason. Like, it's not going to be like if it would ever happen, it would be like they both are really backed into a corner and like feel like this has to fucking happen because whatever, and like they don't want to. But Blake becoming her yeah. I mean, like, because he could become like Alexis's or Ty, like, but that's just like not as fun. I don't know. Or he could just not become anyone's.
I mean, I feel like
go join Johannes.
Yeah, I don't know. Seems questionable at this point, at least. But
yeah, it's not like a great idea. It's a fun idea.
All right. So we're gonna start Pale in comparison section, and I figured we'd talk about wraiths. In terms of like if you can remember much about Pale. I know Verona encounters a pretty bad one that like attacks her. That like is abusive. I don't know. Do you remember that? Or
I remember them chasing Wraith or something around into like people's garages and stuff.
I think was that the little boy?
No, the little boy was just like on the street. I think a Wraith went into like somebody's power tools in their garage, and they made Snowdrop go in first so that they could say like my pet went in there, or something.
That's right.
But yeah, I mean, I remember. God, a lot of Pale was so long ago. It's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, because now when I'm thinking about wraiths, I mostly think about the grocery store in Toronto with the shepherd, which is not Pale. But we've definitely, seen echoes, and we've definitely seen angry sorts of spirits and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you remember much about the wraiths?
I mean, the one I can remember is Verona interacting with a wraith that was like an abusive woman to like her child, I think. Is a real piece of shit.
Wow.
And I think like the more Verona's interacting with her in certain ways, the stronger the wraith got and would like was attacking her basically. So Molly's a lot nicer than she could be.
Yeah, that's true. Her rune is just to like get away, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's not so much on like the offensive as like a lot of other wraiths have been. That's like the main thing I can think of, really. Yeah. Anything else that you want to compare? Maybe like how much this family sucks compared to I don't know.
How the other families don't. Well, there was sort of a similar vibe, I guess, between the Thorburns and like the extended Kelly clan. Like, obviously the extended Kelly clan is not like super horribly awful or whatever, but there is like a lot of tension in the family between the siblings, and it is kind of chaotic when they're all together, and so that sort of felt familiar in that way, because I think that like all of like Blake's childhood and stuff, Rose's childhood and stuff, were all like really lonely, but they do have kind of a big boisterous family when they all get together. Although one of them, they all suck really bad, and the other one, they just have like awkward family baggage.
Yeah, that's fair. I can see that. It's like, yeah, the Thorburns are more like the Kellys extended family on steroids. Like a lot of
yeah,
a lot of steroids.
demons.
And some
yeah, and
cocaine.
like one of Avery's aunts is always like bossing her around and like being all controlling and like weird and stuff. Like I can see like Irene or whatever like being like that. I mean, she was like that to some like fucking strangers. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you seeing like, because obviously the family's like really trying to get up in this business and get the house and all that. Do you think that's gonna cause them to get involved with the practice, or do you think like Rose is gonna be able to keep them all out?
Fascinating. I mean, I think that the other families, like the Duchamps and the Behemoths or whatever, don't want the Thorburns to get more practitioners. And I think that Rose like doesn't trust her family and doesn't want them with her. So I don't really see an incentive for anyone to like awaken anyone at this point. Although the chances of them becoming aware are like that's real.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm having a hard time imagining them becoming like real involved in this story, but they are here in town trying to like mess with legal stuff. But they don't, I don't know. It's like the balls up in the air right now, I guess, are like there's Molly, there's the Thorburn family, there's Jeremy, and then, you know, just the larger like Lord claim. And I'm not really sure how all these things are like going to intersect.
Sure.
And like what order. Because it's like, yeah, the Thorburns are in town because if they can just take all the fucking Thorburns out at once with this like ridiculous lordship claim business, like that's cool. It's kind of nuts that they're like possibly considering just murdering all these people, but you know.
Yeah. That's kind of shitty.
Yeah. And then I guess Jeremy's here also because of the lordship thing. I don't know what taking the house away from Rose would like do.
Just give everyone else money, I guess.
Well, it's like somebody else would get, like Ellie or whatever would get it, right? Like it wouldn't just, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
all right. Now our section, even though we've kind of talked about a few of these that are kind of bold and specific, I'd say. Malia, what is your bold and specific prediction or predictions for this episode?
Yeah, so I think that Molly will say yes and become Maggie's familiar because there's a 50% chance I'm right. I think that, I don't know. It's like either Blake is Grandma Rose's reflection and he's meant to be the heir somehow, which doesn't really make sense because of the whole like female Thorburn and all that stuff, or not.
That is not is definitely a choice as well.
Just like I'll stick with the Blake is Grandma Rose's reflection, not Rose's reflection, because that's sort of fun, even if it's not really true. It doesn't really make sense, but I think it's fun. Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah.
All right, great. Okay, we're gonna go over our last week's discussion question, which was, what's your favorite pizza and what's the weirdest pizza topping or combo you've ever eaten? We'll start with
I just want to say, like, one of my favorite things about this question was a lot of those seem to be like the same answer, so that's fun.
And I guess I'll say, like, okay, last week I said I wasn't going to judge you guys, so I'm going to try to not judge you guys. Okay. So I'll try. I apologize if I make a comment. I'm going to try to just read it. And so, I mean, a lot of these I'm like aren't too bad. There's a couple I've been like, what the absolute fuck. But at least from my recollection. But okay, we're just going to read. Start with Xerxes Prelor, which says deep dish cheese pizza, maybe with roasted bell peppers. That sounds pretty good. I guess that was a judgment technically. Okay.
Beleg Tall really loves Hawaiian pizza, which is, you know, ham and pineapple, and wants everyone to know that it's actually Canadian in origin, which is fun.
It is, yes.
They also especially like it when bacon is added. And one time, this I think is the weirdest sounding pizza, no, or second weirdest, but out of all the weird ones. But one time they had a pizza with tuna and frozen peas on it that was made by their cousins in Brazil, and it was better than they expected.
Which, I mean, yeah, better than expected. You could, I mean, you don't necessarily expect much.
Yeah,
but,
true.
So maybe it was really, really good. Or maybe it was just, not absolutely terrible. That's a weird one, but maybe it was good. Sengachi says their favorite pizza is Hawaiian, pineapple and ham with no cheese.
Which is wild. But I mean, you do you. Hobo Demon has I think Rule 30 is the whole, if it exists, there's porn of it on the internet or whatever. And this is like an inverse Rule 30 or something, which is if it exists in a kitchen, there is a pizza of it, which I love, or a pizza with it on it. So their favorite weird pizza is when you substitute the tomato sauce with Mexican street corn and you put mozzarella and feta on top, which I would try. But the overall weirdest pizza they've ever had, which, yes, is adding cinnamon toast crunch on top of Hawaiian pizza. Okay,
how stoned were you?
You could be honest.
I don't understand. How do you come up with, did you accidentally, did you accidentally spill that on the pizza and then we're just like, fuck it, I paid money for this, I'm gonna eat it? Or was that on purpose?
Was it a dare at a slumber party? Was it? And did you bake it?
How did it taste?
Or put it on
did you
after?
Actually like it? That's what I need to know. Did it actually taste good? I'm at that point, maybe it's more of a dessert pizza because you have the pineapple anyway. So maybe it's more like candied bacon type of feel.
Interesting.
I mean, that's kind of a stretch. But so is that pizza order.
Truth.
I'm not doing good with the judgments, guys. I'm sorry. I'm trying. That might be good. Fleet Feathers. His favorite is pepperoni and pineapple, which I do have to say I'd probably like that better than the traditional Hawaiian pizza, ham and pineapple, just because I like pepperoni a lot and it gets a little bit crispier. Weirdest is cheeseburger pizza with hamburger, American cheese, ketchup, mustard, and pickles. I've heard of that, but I've never had it before.
I think I had it once at Flatbread, and I liked it.
They have one at Flatbread? Really?
It was a special. So, one time I went, they had it.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And then David L. Hunt admits bravely that he doesn't like pizza. And it's because he doesn't like the tomato sauce.
There's so many different types of sauces besides tomato sauce. Come on, right, man.
No, we want to wait. We want to make this an exciting opportunity. So one time he ordered a pizza that was light on the sauce, and he said it was better. But if he could make a pizza without sauce, then he likes various meat toppings. But he doesn't really think that it would be qualified as a pizza. And I just want you to know that you don't have to limit yourself like that. And my favorite pizzas often have a white sauce or no sauce basically, or there's pesto, there's barbecue sauce, there's corn apparently. Live your dreams, man. And don't let anyone tell you that something isn't pizza because it doesn't have tomato sauce on it.
There are so many, I'm pretty sure pizza was invented before they had tomatoes in Italy. So it's not even a traditional thing. You could have fucking anything you want. I'm pumped. I hope that you get inspired to go try some pizza with I mean, I guess if you don't like sauce in general, then that's one thing.
That's harder, but there are still some they might be called flatbreads or whatever, but there'd still be some options.
But if it's just tomato specifically, dude, the world is your oyster. You can there's so many things. Just go for it. Try literally anything but tomato sauce, and hopefully it'll blow your mind in a good way.
Definitely.
Misi one, which I'm still probably pronouncing that wrong, but whatever, it's fine. they say that they love meat lovers, but also dessert pizzas. They say, in terms of a dessert pizza, Black Forest Crumble from Crust Pizza in Australia, which that sounds delicious.
Yep.
And they've also had Vegemite pizza, and it was good until it wasn't. So maybe it was too much Vegemite. I don't know. Maybe they weren't good at like doing the ratio. So I saw a picture I think they posted, and it was from Domino's. So I don't know. Maybe
it's too much.
Yeah, maybe Domino's isn't going to do a good job with Vegemite pizza.
Right. So the next people, these are all their Discord names. So on Discord, Prof Rascal says that their favorite pizza is ziti pizza, which I never heard of. For those of you who don't know, baked ziti is a dish with noodles that are kind of like penne, but they're not slanty at the ends, and tomato sauce and cheese and like sometimes sausage or I think sometimes meatballs, different things, and it's like baked. And so apparently you can get pizza that like is a pizza dough crust thing with this on it, which was kind of wild.
It's kind of cool.
And like, yeah, I'd try it.
I'd eat it. I mean, the only pizza I've heard of with pasta on it is like the mac and cheese one at CC's.
I've never heard of that.
It's not that great, but
interesting.
At least that if there. Which granted, if you're gonna buy pizza like for the taste, you're probably not gonna go to CC's. Yep. That's just for like all you can eat pizza that's cheap and fills you up. Jonah Leth says their favorite pizza is one that they cook for themselves. They basically make a thin crust from scratch, mix Vegemite with pizza sauce, and they do pepperoni mushrooms, roasted red pepper, olives, and red pepper flakes. And they say that their weirdest pizza topping is bananas, which I have heard of that before, and that sounds fucking terrible.
Never heard of that before. Well,
that's a judgment, but
Jonalith swoops in here and is like, "Oh, I put Vegemite in my pizza sauce, and then also I put bananas on pizza." I clarified, like before or after baking, whatever. Sometimes he'll order pizza, or they'll order a pizza and just like put bananas on top, like wild.
I mean, I guess I've never tried it, and I guess that is a big thing in Sweden, I think, to put like bananas on pizza.
It's wild.
I don't know. Yeah.
I'd probably try it.
I try it. I can't picture it tasting good, but I guess people do eat it, so
yeah,
it tastes good to someone. So
yeah,
I guess don't knock it till you try it.
My Tallest talks about a restaurant in Anchorage, Alaska, called Moose's Tooth, which is the highest grossing single location pizza place in the United States. Apparently it makes a whole bunch of weird pizzas, and they're all great. They posted a whole bunch of screenshots of the menu in the Discord, and I got real hungry. And their favorite one is the spicy Thai chicken pizza, which just they all sounded really good.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, all the descriptions I saw of that place was like, well, these don't sound that weird in terms of like really, really like weird. They just sound like something I want to eat immediately. Kippo says their weird topping is egg, scrambled or just put on top to fry in the oven. I've never heard of a scrambled except maybe breakfast pizza, but I don't even know
I can't imagine a scrambled egg on just like a
normal pizza.
I also don't really like scrambled eggs, so I was kind of like, ugh. But fried egg sounds decent.
Yeah, I feel like fried would probably work better for that. But I mean, I'd try it. But they're all. I mean, she's also very enthusiastic about all pizza, like
all the pizzas. D-Dev says that their favorite pizza ever was the mushroom truffle pizza from Nomad in, I believe, Pennsylvania. It's a white pizza with mushrooms and truffle oil, and it sounds really nice.
Coblin the Gobliner. They say garlic / honey pizza with blue cheese is their personal favorite. I never would have thought of that, but I would definitely try that.
So good.
It sounds fucking delicious. I mean, Vitalis would hate it, but that means it'd be more for me. Or potato and rosemary with Parmesan. I don't think I've ever had potato on a pizza either, but
I think I have. I think it was good. Yeah.
I would try it. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, totally. Cyranus, loves all pizza, but especially loves like a 3-meat kind of deal.
Jarl Zarl says weirdest pizza, but also up there for the best was definitely their college's baked potato pizza. White sauce, slices of baked potato, bacon, 3 different types of cheeses, and some chives. That
Wow.
sounds pretty good. My
Put sour
go-to
cream on
pizza.
that.
I'm sorry?
If you put sour cream on that, it'd be so good.
I'm kind of assuming the
Is it
white
a
sauce
dip?
maybe has sour cream or something, but maybe not.
Interesting.
Who knows? Maybe that's a bad assumption. Yeah, that would be good. Their go-to pizza, given unlimited toppings, is usually meat lovers plus mushrooms and onions, but honorable mention to barbecue chicken and chicken bacon ranch. And for limited toppings, big fan of mushrooms and black olives. Those all sound pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm. Last but not least, Hans shouts out what is apparently a big pizza, popular pizza in the Netherlands, shawarma pizza, which has like shawarma meat on it and a big swirl of garlic sauce on top. And that sounds freaking great.
That sounds freaking great. Do we have a new discussion question?
I mean, it could be like, which like literary dog would you take as your familiar, but I don't know if we've done too many of the just like pick a thing, make it your familiar questions.
That's true. We also could do, would you rather have, I feel like we shouldn't do this one. Would you rather have a fishtail and a cloaca, or multiple pairs of legs with a pair of with a set of genitals for each?
I mean, how many is multiple?
At least 6 legs.
See, now I just want to know what people will say.
I mean, they also might be like, this is too weird. I don't think we'll get as many answers as the pizza question, but I don't know.
People answered the like being splashed with urine pizza question.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's true. You know, I'm gonna leave it to you, Malia. Which is not fair. But I'm gonna do it anyway. Unless I can think of another question I want answered that actually has to do with like the reading. I guess maybe we should look at that.
It could be something about Alice in Wonderland, something about people being bad people, and whether you feel bad for them.
I mean, this is a familiar question, but like, which is what I think it should be. If you like, if the only way you could get a familiar, was that it had to be like either your greatest enemy or someone that you wronged, would you do it for the power gain?
Cool, yeah.
What do you think? All right. I like it. Cool. Thanks, guys, for listening. I feel like this is really weird, but that's cool. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. And if you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe, share it with your friends, and leave a rating and review. To support our podcast, go to patreon.com/doofmedia. And if you'd like to support Wildbow as he continues to write fantastic stories, go to patreon.com/wildbow.
You can follow the pod on Twitter @PaleComparison, or send us an email at paleincomparisonpod@gmail.com. Keep an eye out for our Reddit thread in r/parahumans, where you can answer our discussion question and share your thoughts on this episode. In addition, if you would like to see all of my predictions laid out, check out our episode description for a link to a prediction tracker. Next episode, we will be covering chapters 10.5 and 10.6.
And as another reminder, our Pale Conflections fan art contest is going to be over, and entries due July 22nd. The theme is redemption. This is a really random. Yes. Thank you. This is a really random fun fact. So I guess in the 50s, Las Vegas would advertise nuclear explosions to tourists, as there were visible mushroom clouds from a test site north of the city. And they would give out like schedules and calendars and shit to people to be like, hey, you can watch the fucking atomic bomb blast from here and you can see the best from here. They end up having to stop in 1963 when they made above ground nuclear testing illegal and banned and all that lame stuff.
It's just so funny that they were like, we need something else to draw people to Vegas. Like, It's a
like
wonder
gambling
that
and
shut down.
all that
Yeah.
shit's not enough. Let's we definitely need to advertise a fucking nuclear blast. Like, what the
I mean,
fuck?
I guess if they're gonna happen, you might as well make some money.
I guess
What's
so.
happening?
I mean, that's true. Yeah, like fuck it, why not?
Yeah, I wonder if the government like gave them the schedules or if they were just so regular that they could figure it out themselves.
I'm assuming they were I don't know.
It's
It
like the
probably
Old
was on that
Faithful
article I was reading.
of the
Old Faithful.
apocalypse.
How
Except
nice.
Old Faithful is kind of the Old Faithful of the apocalypse because we could all die at any moment from the super volcano.
Yeah,
So
that's great. Maybe we should move back to Hawaii. Just have like our normal volcanoes.
Would it be better? Yeah, okay.
I mean, like they have like I mean, it'd be rough. You'd have to get used to sustaining off of like the shit we have there, but like you know,
we might live.
I don't know. We might live because like how many people would die? Is it like
People.
most people in like the United States and other countries and shit would be fine?
I
Or,
honestly like try
everybody?
not to look into it. I think
That's
a lot
fair.
of the United States is fucked. And like I guess that includes Canada because it's up there, Yellowstone.
Yeah.
When I was in Yellowstone, I was kind of like, I thought I'd be afraid to be here with the super volcano, but like if it goes off, I probably die real fast, and like
Yeah.
that's cool.
That's kind of like one of the best places to be because then it's
You
over
won't
with
even
right
know.
then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's kind of
awful.
perfect. Ooh, wait, I hear Vitalis. Hold on.
Oh
hold on.
no. No.
Hey, hun. So, if an animal doesn't have any legs, do they still have a vagina?
Yes.
Can you come up closer to the microphone to say that? Can you?
Yes, they would have a vagina. It's a thing called legless lizards. So how do those exist without a vagina?
Are you saying they don't reproduce asexually?
They do both, actually.
They do both.
Well, what
both.
about
There you go.
cloacas or whatever?
Malia's asking what about cloacas or whatever.
Well, technically count. It's a fucking one hole that leads to two tunnels, basically. That's what a cloaca is. So both vagina and anus would be the same hole, but then leads to two channels. So yes, that would still count.
Is that in fish and in birds?
Reptiles mostly in birds, yeah.
Mostly reptile
and birds.
So what about fish? Is that a cloaca or
No.
no? I gave wrong info.
You did.
Is it a vagina?
But I don't know. They
Is
might have a vagina.
They might have. You can't leave.
You can hear him just like running away.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, like he's trying to start the bath for the kids. All right. He said maybe fish have a vagina, so I might have given wrong info. I don't know. Like
See,
that's a mystery.
Let us know if you know. Do you fish have a vagina?
Yeah, 'cause my husband's in a hurry, so he can't stop. He said maybe, which I'm like, you fucking know. That's your fucking field, you bastard. But he didn't have the time. So
cool.
Well, there's a little bit of
fun.
That's a little bit of extra info. We're gonna go now and just think about what we've done.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. Well, I hope you all have a good day, and I'm sorry if we scarred anybody by this fucking discussion. And we'll see you next week. And who knows? Maybe it'll be more normal. Probably not, but
maybe.
You can only. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.